Hello and welcome to the Digital Excellence Pharma Academy for yet another evening of learning. Today we have a very special guest all the way from Germany to speak about key account management in pharma, Hanno Wolfram. And we couldn't find a better person than Hanno Wolfram to talk about key account management in pharma because Hanno Wolfram is the author of Key Account Management in Pharma, a book specially written for pharma companies to understand and adopt key account management in the true sense of the word. Today, we will be having the webinar by Hanno Wolfram, giving us an overview of what key account management is in the true sense of the word and how pharma companies need to adopt it going forward as the prescription generation changes over time from individual decision makers to a set of decision makers, which Hanno Wolfram calls as the decision-making unit of people involved in approving a drug and making it available, especially in their hospitals and institutions. So you can also write to me if you want a copy of this book, and I'll be very glad to ask Hanno to autograph it for you as he has done it for me and send a copy to you so that your company has the tools to implement key account management. So today we will be having a webinar by Hanno Wolfram, and on Friday at 5 o'clock, we will be having a question and answer session with Hanno Wolfram. You can ask all the questions you want about key account management in pharma, as well as you can ask any questions related to digital in health, because Hanno Wolfram is also the author of a fantastic book, Digital in Health, which covers the entire gamut of what is involved in adapting digital in pharma. Hanno has been a very good friend. He has been on the editorial board of Medicine Man for a number of years now, and he has been very generous in including Salil Kalyanpur and me as the co-authors of this book. So this is also a book that you can get it from us directly, autographed by Hanno himself. So we are in for a treat. So over to you, Hanno, for a wonderful evening of learning, which our audience are looking forward to. And thanks to CredoWeb for this joint partnership in setting up Digital Excellence Pharma Academy to enable Indian pharma sales and marketing professionals to understand how and why they need to adopt digital going forward. Do tell your pharma colleagues about this session. It is completely free of cost. So over to Hanno Wolfram for an evening of learning on key account management in pharma. Thank you.
Before we start to talk about key account management in the pharmaceutical industry, let me express my thanks to be part of the faculty of the Digital Excellence Pharma Academy. Key account management, probably for some companies, is still a pathway to change. Now, industries have everywhere changed and still do change a lot. The pharma's RX business model is, simply said, to invent, develop and produce medicine and sell them at a specific price. Besides this business model, there's a sales model. The sales model was and is to have field forces promoting their drugs to specific physicians and request prescribers to prescribe my drug. First, it is very much likely that this sales model will become extinct, being followed by a business model from drugs to healthcare, or very often named as well by Anup Soanes, going beyond the pill. The earlier industrial metamorphosis has happened to other industries as well, just as a reminder. Think about the International Business Machines company, the IBM, famous for their computers, and today it's a merely consulting and cloud computing company. Nothing anymore to do with business machines. Similar, this works with Caterpillar. From constructing and mining machinery famous across the world, they are now changing into a more digital situation, using and leveraging their telematic data from their machinery to be better at grinding and moving grounds. So changes are everywhere and to everyone. The good old days of pharma are gone. In the early ages, there was product promotion without any boundaries. In many countries around the world, there was bribery, as is it seen today, a common practice. Most physicians have been important. There was no need to select, to segment or target any target groups. The access to physicians was unlimited. Come in and sit down was an often heard sentence for medical reps. Every call was valuable. Number of calls per day was an important KPI, so was coverage and frequency. On the other side, there were frequently new products. There were short-term launches once a year, even twice a year, and results were great and the growth was double-digit, and senior people have always been happy. There were huge field forces around the world with high call frequency, with even various lines promoting the same drug. The coming days, as we all know it and believe it, will be definitely different because product portfolios mature. The number of generic drugs is almost unbelievable. New products are rare. Prescribing decisions are less and less influenced by a single prescriber. Their role in decision-making marginalizes. New and different stakeholders have the say today. In addition to that, there's access policies coming into place almost everywhere in the world, and medical representatives only can see doctors by appointment. As well, the political environment changes. Cost-benefit is a much more important parameter than therapeutic or product excellence. The pressure from shareholders and stakeholders increases. Both of these groups want more for the same. A major problem for the field forces is access to physicians. This is a picture from ZS in the United States where this parameter is measured. You can see that less than 50% of all physicians allow pharmaceutical companies to have contact to them at all. And still you see, as the text reads, that the role of the field force is pretty clear. They visit a doctor, they report it and repeat it X times a day. There's another challenge showing up. Very new, very current. You all are more or less affected by COVID-19. And this pandemic still drives a learning curve after it stopped field force activities for months. Anup Soanes, taken from this COVID pandemic, quotes these numbers. 33% of doctors do no longer want digital contacts like webinars. 79% of physicians wanted pharmaceutical representatives to book their calls beforehand. And 41% of doctors felt that webinars have no relevance or significance. As long as these webinars are done in the same way as a call is done, irrespective of what a physician wants or needs, this will remain the same situation. And 65% of doctors were at least irritated at getting messages at odd times, and they were thinking of blocking and reducing the numbers. So the answer in Twitter to this tweet from Anup Soanes was very simple, yet expected. You're right, sir, but still pharma companies are forcing employees to do these Zoom meetings/webinars. On the other hand, without a relevant activity of a medical representative and sales lines stuck at home, the drugs sales are still rising, even without the field force working. This does not only apply to India, but it is the same almost across the world. Probably this comes from the fact that today decisions are less and less made by individual physicians. There are new deciders, like market access is only possible, and registration, reimbursing and pricing, etc., if you go through the national bodies. Then come tenders that decide on your availability of your drug, and may they be regional or national, whatever. After you won a tender, there are purchasing groups. They decide which of the alternative drugs they take on their list. And the next step is pharmacists or chemists who decide which of the drugs they dispense. And last but not very least, patients decide which drug to adhere. And the United Nations WHO says clearly that about 50% of all therapeutic intake of medication, it is stopped by the patient due to the patient's non-adherence from the most various reasons. Usually it is a very clear decision from a patient. It's not only about forgetting. So now let us switch over after this introduction about the necessary change that we have to foresee, talk about key account management. The question always is, what are we really talking about? There are a number of words in pharmaceutical companies that mean many different things to many different people. So we need to be very, very clear about our language that we use. Different words meaning the same will definitely be misunderstood and mislead thoughts and actions, which very simply in an organization like a company, it's wasting precious time and skills. Remember, a customer is not an account. An account is an organization by definition, not a customer. In an account, there are stakeholders, not customers. And stakeholders in accounts are of many different professions. So this is what we're talking about. Let me give you a very famous and very, very similar definition of the word customer. And this is in almost all economic books. You can see this in this or in a similar way. A customer is someone who bought something via a financial transaction. So it is about a product or a service or a right for money. Then you are a customer. A customer is an individual. And an account is something different, because an account is an entity, an organization, a group, or even a network of people in which a decision about registration, reimbursement, listing, purchasing, recommendation, prescription, or usage of drugs is made by several people. So remember these definitions when we go along through key account management. Now, there is a word key in this acronym KAM or CAM. Key is an account if and when it is of major importance for a company's, pharmaceutical company's future. You usually design and create a matrix with X and Y axes and Z axes differently prescribed for each and every company or product, and define which accounts are key. And remember, there are world market leaders in some industries running their business with globally indicating only a handful, literally 5 accounts being their key accounts. And accounts that are non-key simply are called accounts. So there's a third letter in this acronym, the M. Who manages whom or what? Please be aware that an account manages him or herself. It is not an external person. So, but a key account manager forms and manages his company's account team. This is what he really does, and this is what the challenge really is for a key account manager. Because this team can consist, depending on the addressed account, key account in this case, can consist of medical, regulatory, patient relations, medical reps, logistics, finance, and all these functions that are available within your own company. The thing is that the account team is the group of your company relevant to fulfill all these most various requests and needs of these stakeholders inside a key account. And this team is selected, introduced, and managed by your responsible CAM. This is what the M in CAM means. Now, inside every key account, there is a decision-making unit. Take a hospital, for example. And this decision-making unit forms their decisions and all relevant contacts, stakeholders, contribute to his decision inside an account, and the combination of all of them is called the decision-making unit. I took as an example a hospital where many people inside a hospital really do these decisions. And think about that the decision-making unit members, they may very well vary per product or offering that you want to sell to these people. There may, of course, be overlaps like pharmacy or economy, so finance or purchasing. So owed to all these paradigm changes in the industry, key account management is something that you need, and pharmaceutical companies really strive for to introduce this. They need to cope with this increasing regulatory pressure and interference, the new stakeholders, to identify them and talk to these people. There's a shift of decision-making power away from individual prescribers to large-scale institutions, and the closing doors for reps add to the malaise. So a possible consequence is very easily a structured and coherent approach to institutional business called key account management. If you do this across regions in large countries, you will learn from each other and you will be able to leverage these curves between the regions. A survey showed that key account management is the top of the foreseen changes in the marketplace and the top item that pharmaceutical companies will go for. Remember these bullet points. Account management is an evolutionary business model. Account management means and always contains something beyond the pill. It's not only about drugs. Account management means to cooperate with other businesses. It's not to hammer a message down their throat. Account management means solving problems at a cost. Of course, not your problems, but the problems inside the account. And there's a very, very important sentence nowadays in terms of digital. It says software sells hardware. Now you need to solve a problem to bring your probably your drug or device into a hospital, for example. Account management, in contrast to a medical representative, is a transactional business. There really is a product and service exchanged for money. And account management is applicable to many organizations along pharma's value chain. So one after the other, you can go through from the top of registration down to a single small clinic. You may be in the situation and decide to have these as key accounts. So there's no market access without the IFDA. And remember these things, you have to deal with these people. Account management, of course, as well means building robust and future-oriented relationships between partners. It is nothing that you go there, sell something and leave. It is about partnering. Giving you a brief example in between, Tata is working with their engineers in many client companies. Their engineers sit in these client companies and cooperate with engineers of their client companies. It is not that you simply go there to sell something. And account management cannot be successful, especially key account management cannot be successful without an account team. You always need several people. There is not one single person who could fulfill all these requests from all these people inside, take a hospital for example, who want to learn about the science behind a drug, the content of a drug, the delivery chain of a drug, the logistics of a drug. You need many, many people, more than one. And account management is well established in other industries. So why not ask someone like Tata to help you and give guidance? And of course, account management in pharma today means to embrace change. A change to the better and to a robust future. So, tender businesses is really where the dollars and the rupees lie. It is the heart and soul of key account management, be it with governments, with regional authorities, with local authorities in the big cities and agglomerations, hospitals or hospital groups, or hospital departments even, and decision-making units inside an account. All these people and institutions play a major role for your future. So, the message to pharma leaders reads simply as that. Pharmaceutical companies possess more knowledge about a specific disease than anyone else in the world. This is usually the case. Leveraging this knowledge for the sake of better patient outcome is one of these future promises to the marketplace, and it plays a major role if you come close to this promise. Accessing this knowledge is requested and highly appreciated by any stakeholder, be it a singular physician or be it a member of a decision-making unit. They all want to get hold of this knowledge. But it sometimes lies hidden in medical departments and hardly is leveraged and used by key account managers. And this whole story around key account management, it must be designed, developed, and executed with the objective to establish relationships between a pharmaceutical company and other healthcare players. It is not the objective to make money. Remember that George W. Merck, the founder of MSD today, in 1954 already said this sentence, and it's worth to be quoted: "We try never to forget that medicine is for the people. It is not for the profits," he said. But the profits follow. And if we have remembered that the profits have never failed to appear, the better we have remembered this, the larger the profits have been, is what George W. Merck said in 1954 already. A quote from this year is that the Pfizer's John Young, the chief business officer, said it wasn't about a return on investment, but it was finding medical solutions to the crisis. He meant COVID-19, and it was not about profits. So this is a statement 70 years after George W. Merck, reading and meaning almost the same. So keep this in mind when you start key account management. And this is Roche d'Oliveux, the former CEO at UCB. He said something very, very, very similar. And he said, if you deliver superior value to patients, you deliver superior value to shareholders. You can't set yourself a goal of, I'm going to deliver superior value to shareholders, and I do this patient thing as a good thing to do there. It is exactly the other way around. The patient is first. So now we have 3 quotes from 3 very, very famous and knowledgeable people that should be remembered by all of us. Thanks a lot for your valued attention, and very much I appreciate your comments to come. Thank you so much.